Welcome back, everybody. I'm Michael Foley, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to do the Americana shoulder lock from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, the Americana shoulder lock has a cool history. It was brought to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by Hulse Gracie, who learned it from American wrestling coach Bob Anderson. Anderson, being an American, is the reason why it's called the Americana shoulder lock. Today, we're going to show it from side control or crossbody position. Okay, just a quick note about side control. You want to have the center of your torso lined up with the center of their torso. If I get too low in side control position, it's easier for them to do what's called a C-clamp escape. And if I get too high, it's easier for them to do what's called a ghost escape. We'll look at the escapes in another video, but for all intents and purposes today, I want to take my center mass and put it over his center mass, and I want to do everything from this position. So let's look at the basics of the move first, and then we'll look at a couple of different setups. Basically, what I want to do is when I'm in side control, I want to have my elbow tight to his head and my elbow tight to his hip right here. Now this isolates his arm right here between my two arms. And what I'm looking for is for my opponent to try to get this hand underneath my chin. And when he moves his hand to go underneath my chin, I drop my head and connect it with his wrist. I'm going to use my head then to push it to the floor. And as I do that, this hand, my top hand, I swim to the inside and I catch his wrist right here. When I catch the wrist, depending on where this hand is, that's gonna determine how I'm gonna get my hand underneath right here. But I wanna pin that tight to the floor right here. If I find that I can't get my hand underneath right here because my partner's dropping his elbow tight to the floor, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flatten my hand and I'm gonna bring it in here underneath the wrist, catch. Once I'm in this position, I wanna get both my hands straight and I wanna slowly, while keeping his palm flat to the floor, bring his elbow down by his hip bone. And then I get the tap. So let's say you're a split second too late and your opponent gets their forearm underneath your chin right here. And his goal is, his inside arm is here on my hip, his outside arm is right here underneath my neck, and he's gonna upa towards me and get his knee to the inside to regain his guard. So what I want to do from that position instead is first I'm going to deal with the inside arm, because the arm attached to my hip is the one that's going to create the space for his knee to come in to get guard. So what's going to happen is when he starts to upa, this hand stays tight here. When he upas, I'm going to grab his elbow and I switch my hips. That's going to get this arm out. Now from here, I keep pressure down right here and I'm going to collect his wrist, and then I switch my base back. So I push my outside foot to the floor, swim my other leg through, catch my grip. And now from here, it's the same steps as we did earlier. Straight wrist, hand to the floor, slide the elbow back towards the hip, and I get the tap. So here's the biggest mistake I see, especially white belts make. You get your opponent in the Americana position, and then they start cranking this arm and they're not getting the tap. The elbow's coming up off the floor really high, so that's a telltale sign that the elbow is too far from the hip. What you have to do in this situation is keep your top elbow tight to their neck, get your grip together, make sure your wrists are straight, and instead of concentrating on getting the elbow off the floor, concentrate on pulling the elbow towards their hip. So I want to get his elbow as close to his hip as I possibly can. And if your partner still doesn't tap out at that point, then you concentrate on getting your elbow off the floor. So that tends to be the first submission I see beginners hit, and it's actually the first submission I caught when I was a brand new white belt starting out. So it's a great confidence builder for beginners. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm Michael Foley, and I'll see you on the mats.